Skinwalker Ranch, also known as Sherman Ranch, is a property of about Utah that is reputed to be the site of paranormal and UFO-related activities. Can you shed any light on what went on there in the past and what, if anything, is still hidden there today?
No, I do not know what happened in the past, but it's obvious that there is at least one or three or up to three craft there. It's also obvious that there is a very large underground there, whatever that is. Now, I understand that this property was managed and studied for 20 years prior to this, to what's going on there now. And I know the narrative is that, well, they couldn't figure it out. I don't buy that narrative. I think they know fully what's there. They've just decided to leave it alone, or they've come to terms with whatever it is. I find it fascinating. I do. I also find what's really fascinating with what's going on off the coast of Nova Scotia. The whole Oak Island thing. I understand the show. I understand that we know what people say, but the fact of the matter is, they're finding relics that go, back, 50, 100 BC on these islands. That completely destroys the whole Columbus thing. And, it only adds credibility to what a lot of people talk about in dark rooms. For example, the Perry Reese map. That map was put together by a Spanish admiral or a Portuguese admiral, I can't remember which. And on the notations of the original map, he makes reference to maps that he used that were given to him that belonged to Alexander the Great. And Alexander the Great was given those maps by a librarian at the Library of Alexandria. And it has maps of the entire coastlines of the world, including Antarctica without ice on it. That intrigues me. And that's why I pay attention to it. I know the history they taught us is bullshit. I've always known that since I was little. But I'm intrigued because I wonder, as they talk about these things, what people in other homes who are watching this, they're thinking. I'm always very curious to, I try to imagine the light bulbs going off in other living rooms when people hear this information, and it's exciting to me because it opens up perception, and I get really excited when people open up perceptions, when they open up their perception, because it makes room for the things that I've talked about all these years, and what other people have talked about all these years. One very, very good book that was written years ago was the book called Pole Shift by John White. Fascinating information is in that book about archaeological finds, just here, not just in the world, but here in North America. Amazing stuff. There's so much history. There's so much to us that we don't know about. The Davenport calendar that was discovered in Davenport, Iowa, and they tried to pass it off as a fake. It's not a fake. They called it a fake because they couldn't explain it. And what it is a stone that was carved to celebrate an event that was happening in that part of what is now Davenport, Iowa. And it was Egyptians and Iberians that were moving across America, going somewhere, probably to the Grand Canyon. And I'll share that with you why in a minute. And it's written in 3 different languages. It talks about a festival of Osiris. They were celebrating a holiday for Osiris. They put the map constellation on this stone. It's written in 3 different languages, which are extinct now. And I believe it's somewhere around 200 BC. And, you know, this lines up with America BC that was written by Barry Fell of the archaeological finds here of Egyptian, Iberian, Phoenician, showing that they had been in the Americas, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And this gives credence to the fact that where they were going and why the Grand Canyon is so important. There were artifacts, and there still are artifacts in the Grand Canyon, in an area where no one is allowed to go to. And it is believed by many that the original Book of the Dead, where it talked about the ancient lands of the West where the kings were buried, was America. Was America, what we now know as America. And that this canyon, this place that was the Valley of the Kings, was in fact the Grand Canyon. And they have spent a lot of time there, the Smithsonian, destroying or hiding records that were there. The giants, all kinds of things, you know, and so we haven't been given our true history either. But there is a whole lot more to the Grand Canyon than we've been told. And, you know, the Native Americans also talk about the ant people that were there that helped the Native Americans survive earth changes, and that they were underneath the Grand Canyon as well. Just like the ant people that JP talks about in Michael Sala's work in Florida, in canyons protecting giants, their bodies, and there's ant people all over the world, you know, that the indigenous people know of. So, you know, there's just this we have this underlying history that is just absolutely fascinating. And you know, I tried to explain this once to one of my kids about the history, and he's like, "Dad, there's no future in history." And I'm just like, "You asshole." You know, I heard that joke years ago, you know, and he just threw it back at me, and you know, but history is extremely relevant. It is. So, anyway.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates.